And we are live. Good morning, crypto warriors, and welcome back to the Gym in the Crypto episode 537. Today is Thursday, January 30th, and I'm King here to bridge the gap between community and crypto every day, Monday through Friday. Today's top stories: SEC tells Telegram its crypto is worth less than donuts. And Antonopoulos writes to judge vouching for law team suing Bitfinex for Bitcoin manipulation. Coinbase launches international cryptocurrency custody arm, and literally no one is trading Bak's Bitcoin options. But first and foremost, of course, let's go ahead and check out prices for the day on the race to 10K. Looks like Bitcoin's coming in strong again today, $9,420.01, up 0.84% on the 24-hour clock. Ethereum's up $178, up 1.24%. Ripple's at 23 cents, up 0.69%. Bitcoin Cash up 1.81% at $394. Just because it's there, Bitcoin SV is at $299, up 70%. As Craig Wright continues to fight to keep that project alive. And EOS, big gain overnight. Wow, up 6.53%. You remember yesterday, I think we were at about $399 or something. So that was a nice little jump. And let's go ahead and give Litecoin a shout out too. Litecoin is at $67, up 12.13%. The bull run may be back in effect, but as some of the commenters said yesterday, we're going to go up to 10,000 and then right back to 1,000. Some people were saying, and also shout out to a couple other commenters. I saw some other good comments left behind with some of the news stories we covered yesterday as well. So thanks for all of that. I think the other big one, the Chinese holiday, there it was. That was the other comment. Somebody said that the Chinese New Year isn't being celebrated the same because of the coronavirus? Coronavirus is out now. I can't keep up. It's bird flu one year, Ebola the next year. I don't know what the new virus is, but someone was making a comment on the channel saying that the Chinese New Year isn't what it has been this year because of that. They've been kind of, I guess, ending some of the activities. So we'll see what happens. Tessa, good morning. P-Man Van, hello. Yes, bright and early. Evan, what's up? Dexter Hand Sr., BSV. Exact. Listen, I saw an article with Craig Wright talking about BSV today. I almost covered it, but I just decided not to. But again, I never pay attention to it. I'm looking at the price right now. People, you have to factor this into the Bitcoin price. Bitcoin Cash. All right, let's just say rounded up $6. You know, the market switches so quickly. Bitcoin Cash is at $400. Bitcoin SV, which shouldn't even exist, is at $300. That's $700 alone right there. Not even talking about Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin Private, Bitcoin Platinum, all the other Bitcoin forks. But just these main two, that's $700 you can add into the price of Bitcoin. So if you factor that in, Bitcoin is already over that $10,000 mark. So again, you have to look at some of these forks and understand the market where the price point on the fiat side might be suffering, but that's only because some of these forks and the misinformation being spread. Tony Nolly, what's going on? Hugging the blockchain. Tommy Brown, lunchtime live. There we go. Donna Muhammad, hello. All right, top story of the day, as the title says, SEC tells Telegram its crypto is worth less than donuts. It is good. I love this animated cartoon. Of course, Cointelegraph, shout out to them. They got the SEC and Telegram having a pillow fight. That's pretty funny. The SEC, though, the only thing I'll say about this art piece is that I highly doubt a government worker at the SEC has a beard or some earrings in. So you have to change that around, but everything else looks good. Looks like on January 27th, the Securities and Exchange Commission fortified its case against Telegram, saying its Gram token is worth less than donuts. It looks like the SEC, of course, running to go tell mommy and daddy government. The SEC argued in a memo to the Southern District Court of New York, quote, Telegram offered and sold grams as securities when it promised to deliver them in exchange for funds pursuant to the purchase agreements. That reality would not have changed if the court permits Telegram to deliver grams to the initial purchasers as part of a broad public distribution, which is in violation of Section 5 and which the court should enjoin. I mean, just listen to this verbiage, which the court should enjoin. Please, Daddy, can we please just find this guy? Can we stop him over here? We can't do anything with him. He's a billionaire. He's doing what he wants. It's not fair. Listen, here's the deal. Whether Telegram changed the way they were going to exchange their funds for their tokens. They did it because the SEC was already picking on them. The same way they're picking on Kraken with the ridiculous amount of subpoenas they're sitting that way, to the fact that they can't even support their own exchange because they have to deal with the government and their government subpoenas. So if Telegram, and I'm saying if because I'm not going off of face value of what the SEC says, because their only purpose is to extort businesses at this point in the cryptocurrency space. But if the SEC said Telegram changed the way the Graham tokens were labeled or redistributed after you bought, they did it because you all are trying to basically pickpocket them for all their money. All right. So not saying that they did it or not, but for one, I want to point that out. If they did it, it was a reaction to the SEC. So for the SEC to go back to the court saying, well, now they're doing this and they're doing it the wrong way because they do it the right way, we have cause to basically extort them and the court shouldn't join. Well, of course not. If you telling me if I don't do an ICO and I go through the regular route of trying to do an IPO, I have to pay a percentage to all these people we've talked about before, lawyers, compliance officers, licensing, registration. You have to do all this stuff with regulators. But if I say, well, I'm going to do an ICO in 2017, well, I don't have to do any of this paperwork. And by the way, I can have more investors because now I open it up to a global population instead of just a nationwide population, then of course I'm gonna go that direction. It makes no sense not to go that direction when that's the easier way of your business growing. So for one, if Telegram did anything different, it's because of a reactionary, it's a reaction to the SEC. And second, let's go talk about the SEC frosting on the cake, as they put it. Quote, Telegram's attempt to avoid this economic truth by labeling Graham commodities also fails. Grahams are not commodities. Unlike gold, comic books, and Krispy Kreme donuts, commodities Telegram compares to grams. Grams have no intrinsic value. Sound familiar? Just replace the word grams with Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency, because this is the same thing they have said about crypto. They said the same thing about Bitcoin. I remember in 2016, Bitcoin has no intrinsic value. Bitcoin is worth less than tulips. Bitcoin is worth less than Krispy Kreme donuts. Unlike gold, Bitcoin isn't worth that, blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, a year later, year and a half later in 2017, and then going into 2018, well, how can we tax Bitcoin? I think people should give us some of their Bitcoin. How can we confiscate Bitcoin? Oh, how did you obtain your Bitcoin? What bank did you go through to do your Bitcoin? So it's the same thing here. It's their, Telegram's under attack. The only reason they're under attack is because they have a CEO in Durov where the SEC says, all right, we have a target. We have a human being who received over $1 billion in funding to fund his project, and we're going to find a way to get some of that money. And since he didn't voluntarily give us that money for whatever reason, we're going to make up things like, well, the way he's doing his sale didn't follow our guidelines, or his Graham tokens, even though they have no intrinsic value, we're still going after the company, which again makes no sense. Or even more far-fetched and crazy, why is the SEC comparing a technology to Krispy Kreme donuts? I mean, really, I want to know who made this statement. They are comparing a technology. Let me say that one more time. And for those who don't know what Telegram is, again, it's a secure messaging app which has had governments around the world up in arms because originally, I think he has made some backdoors since, but originally the messaging app did not allow any government interference into it. So people could send, receive private messages, clear them off, and no one anywhere around the world has access to them but you and that person you message, since everything is encrypted. So we're talking about a highly sophisticated messaging, secure messaging service out there, and you're comparing it to Krispy Kreme donuts. I mean, really. These are the people that are using our tax money. This is what frustrates me. We are paying them to do these type of things. It's crazy. So again, in this statement, they kind of go in on Telegram, saying they're avoiding this economic truth, as they call it. Again, this statement makes no sense. You're saying they're avoiding their economic truth. They're doing things wrong. They owe the SEC money. But at the same time, you're also saying they're worthless. So if they're worthless, how could they owe you any money? That kind of baffles me. And in an even bigger picture, the reason why this is wrong, as I've stated many times before, is because if you give the SEC legal, I guess, however you define legal, if you give them legal means or the legal consensus, at least from the government side of way of doing business, if you give them that consensus of, hey, yes, you can go in to Pavel Durov's creation of Telegram. You can take his money or you can arrest him for not taking his money. You are leaving the door open for every other government around the world to do it. Now, Pavel, since he is a Russian citizen, for those who might know, or at least a Russian origin, Russia's tried the same thing as the SEC. The United States doing. Russia's coming at him the same way. We want a backdoor. We want in on some of this ICO you basically did. We want some of that money. And again, if Russia can do it, what other country can do it as well? What other country, everyone around the world uses Telegram. Is that going to allow China to say, hey, we want our version of the SEC to get in there too. We want our cut. Is that going to allow India to do the same thing? Is that going to allow Venezuela to do the same thing? I mean, where does it stop? It is a global messaging. I've met people on Telegram I message with that live in Romania and Germany and different countries. So it's crazy that the United States SEC is trying to take the lead on this and say, yeah, they owe us some money over here in the U.S. Again, not right. But of course, like I said, SEC versus Telegram round 3 fight. I guess we will see what happens next. Sergeant Crypto, what's going on? Sergeant Crypto said people at the SEC used to get wedgies and stuffed in lockers in school. Pay to play, baby. Alton Thompson, what's going on? I mean, really, they did. I mean, to be honest, and I think we might need to bring that back. I know it's this whole anti-bullying campaign. As Dave Chappelle, or it was a Chris Rock or Dave Chappelle basically said, the anti-bullying is what allowed a bully to actually come about in power, as some people may think. But yeah, I think we all need to take a trip to the SEC offices, schedule a tour or something, and literally just go cubicle to cubicle, giving wedgies and swirlies and stuffing them in their little lockers there, because they're acting like they need one. They're definitely acting like the hall monitors all over again. I mean, you have a company with Pavel Durov who's been nothing but transparent in what he's doing. He's provided a service to people to actually message. And for those who say, this is what the government say. Terrorists use it, gangs use it, money laundering, all this stuff happens on Telegram. We can't see the messages. We need it. One thing I've continuously said is criminals are going to be criminals. All right. Even if you stop every digital messaging service out there, fine. They'll do it like they do in prison. They'll send kites. People will write on a piece of paper and they'll just give it to somebody else until that message is received. All right. You are not going to stop criminals from being criminals. So this is a sham in and of itself. But not only that, like I said, he hasn't done anything wrong. He has a messaging service. I mean, and we're going after him for this. I'd rather go after all the murderers and rapists in the world before we go after some white collar criminal, as you put it, who hasn't done anything wrong but skate around your regulations to pay you. So that's that. In other news, Andreas Antonopoulos has made it. Wow. Antonopoulos writes to judge vouching for law team suing Bitfinex for Bitcoin manipulation. Now, of course, Andreas Antonopoulos is basically the new Bitcoin Jesus. He's been around, talked to senators, governors, presidents, and people of every country about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and how it can help the world as we know it. And it looks like he has joined an ongoing argument about who will lead the class action suit against Bitfinex and its affiliates over alleged market manipulation leading to Bitcoin's 2017 bull run. It looks like amid a flurry of filings seeking to lead the class, Andreas Antonopoulos has come out in support of the legal team of Leibowitz filing an affidavit. I had to pronounce that out. Filing an affidavit on January 27, vouching for the expertise of the team, which Antonopoulos has seen in action on the Kleiman versus Wright case. As Antonopoulos quoted, in the Kleiman matter, Mr. Roche has repeatedly demonstrated an understanding of the technical and functional properties of Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, blockchain, and their underlying cryptographic principles superior to many other attorneys. Now, I think this title is a bit misleading because they're saying they make it seem like they're vouching for the lawsuit of Bitfinex, which in reality is not really happening. Maybe indirectly, I can see how you can make that story. But knowing Andreas Antonopoulos, he's kind of hands off on a lot of this stuff, which is why this is a big headline today, is because he has normally, it's like, hey, I'm here to talk about the power of Bitcoin, blockchain, and cryptocurrency. I'm not here to get into any of the, the cat fights. He's just here to spread the information and the power of this information. So again, him kind of, this article making it seem like he picks sides. This is why it's a headline in of itself, because he is a powerful force, of course, in the crypto space. His word does mean a lot. So if he were to pick sides, that's basically giving the consensus of, hey, Bitfinex is wrong and this law firm suing him is right. I don't think, from my understanding, that's what he's doing. He's just vouching for the law team, saying, hey, when it comes to this space, they know what they're doing. So if they say they have these findings, if they have evidence of these things, then yes, I'm going to at least give them the benefit of the doubt that they're doing the right thing because they know what's going on. So that's the way I kind of took this article. Again, this has been an ongoing class action lawsuit. Bitfinex, alongside related companies Tether and iFinex, have seen 4 separate class action complaints filed against them, all alleging market manipulation and all identifying the class as anyone in the United States who transacted in Bitcoin since mid-2017 or possibly earlier, potentially a huge demographic. Now, my thing is, in this class action in general, this is the issue we're running into in cryptocurrency. I'm not saying the lawsuit is wrong per se, especially if market manipulation did happen. But come on. Bitfinex and Tether, while the manipulation may have been more than others, if this is true, they weren't the only ones manipulating the market, and they haven't been the only ones manipulating the market. If you're going to sue Bitfinex and Tether, I want to see you go in and sue Jamie the Dino Diamond when he called Bitcoin a fraud. And what was it, June or July of 2017, the price dropped overnight to like 15 to 17%. Then we found out the same day while he was on stage calling Bitcoin a fraud, his own team, JP Morgan Chase's team, was hosting a blockchain meetup at their offices the same day he's calling Bitcoin a fraud. So you talk about market manipulation. I mean, literally, then we come to find out he has his Quorum blockchain, the JP Morgan coin. Oh, and by the way, they've been investing in Bitcoin. We find all that out months later, right? After he's repeatedly went down, dogged Bitcoin. Warren Buffett, another one. Warren Buffett has talked all types of mess about Bitcoin, and so is his partner in crime. I guess his second, the guy under him. I can't remember his name. He's another old guy. I have no clue how he's still alive. Not even being funny. He just looks super old. But between the both of them, they both down Bitcoin. We saw the price drop from them. Also to find out that some of their subsidiary companies invest in none other than Bitcoin and blockchain. This list can go on and on, people. Roger Ver, the whole Bcash and Coinbase fiasco, where Coinbase added Bitcoin Cash, and all of a sudden no one could buy or sell, but the price was booming, and then all of a sudden there was a big dip after a lot of people at Coinbase had a chance to sell off their Bcash. I mean, this list goes on and on, people. I don't have this written. This is off the top of my head. So my point is, if you're going to sue Bitfinex and Tether for market manipulation in 2017, there is a long laundry list of other people you need to sue as well. So I'm not cool with this lawsuit. Again, this is the market. This is the market. What else is going on in 2017 that made people lose a lot of money, regardless of the Bitfinex and Tether? Maybe BitConnect. Everybody wanted, I get guaranteed 3% returns every day for 30 days, not understanding compounded interest. That basically means you're about to turn into a multi-millionaire in a month and then a billionaire by the end of the year, which is impossible. People still bought into BitConnect, believing that lie. OneCoin scam. Again, people, this list goes on and on. And one thing I keep seeing repeated in all these articles and all these buzzwords is that we need regulation. I mean, I saw it today. I'm not covering the story, but it was a story that basically said we need regulations in the Bitcoin market in order for the trust to go up in mass adoption and all this. No, we don't. Because with regulations, the same way we talked about that Bitcoin tax to miners yesterday, or the SEC going after Telegram today, you can expect that in every facet of the business. And with that being said, if you're not already in the cryptocurrency or the blockchain business, if you don't already have some type of established business going, then you will fail because these companies with all these new regulations and all these new lawsuits, that's what lawsuits bring. You get lawyers involved, you get judges involved. All right, you know what? We got a lot going on. We need to bring regulators in here to figure this out and clean this up. That's what comes next. And of course, here we are anti-government regulation. We're all about self-regulation in the market. So when it comes to self-regulation, how do you self-regulate Bitfinex and Tether if they manipulate the market? Stop using them. Stop using them. I mean, since 2017, I have been yelling on this channel to not use Tether after my Turbo experience, which I basically signed up for them. This was before the bull run. I signed up for them. The bull run commenced, and it literally took about 4 to 5 months for my information to be processed. Now, the issue I had with that is that, of course, to be processed, you have to give them your passport photo. your social security number. So I had all this information, sent it over to Tether, and I could literally log on to my, I could just log on to their website, and all my information would be displayed on the front page since it hadn't been processed yet. So literally for 5 months straight, on the front page of my Tether, wherever my home page of Tether, it has my passport ID, my social security number, and everything else. And by the way, I can't even add two-factor authentication since I hadn't been processed yet. So all that information was out there for anybody to get. That is what turned me off of Tether to begin with. It had nothing to do with the $1 versus $1. I mean, I saw the manipulation kind of going with that from my point of view. But that was the initial thing that turned me off and told people. And when I started telling people something's not right with this company, right? Same with Bitfinex. Once I found out Bitfinex was in bid with Tether, I was like, you know what? I'm good on everything. It's one red flag too many for me. This is crypto. I don't wait for 3 red flags. I see 1 red flag, I'm bouncing usually. 1 or 2, I'm gone. So it's one of those things where if you want to self-regulate Bitfinex and Tether without running to daddy government and hoping to get your money back, which by the way, you will not get your money back, the best way to do that is just to stop using them. Stop using them, start ignoring them. They'll eventually die off. But again, I don't think going toward lawsuits is the way in this space, because there'll be a nonstop throwing of lawsuits to each person back and forth. We're seeing it already. And by the way, at the end of the day, it's just going to waste a lot of people's time and money. And the only people who are going to win is going to be the government and the legal teams, because you're not going to get your money. I mean, even if you win a judgment, let's say you win a $200 million judgment against Bitfinex, you're not getting the money. Like, there's only one way to keep saying this, but you will not see this money. Same way as in BitConnect, the same way as in Mt. Gox for the most part, the same way as in everything in crypto. When you lose money, you're not going to see that money. It's not happening. Forget about it. Just keep it pushing. Charge it to the game, people. It is what it is. And last but not least, one thing I want to say about this story also is that I want to give a shout out to Bitcoin Zay book, Bitcoin in Black America. Again, what are we talking about right now? We are talking about lawsuits. Lawsuits. We have been telling people for a very long time here as well. If you want to find another way to get into cryptocurrency and you're already a working professional in the legal environment, if you're a lawyer or an attorney or anyone who does anything with the courts, you are crazy not to be reading up on Bitcoin and blockchain technology and the legal regulations and everything around it, because expect to see more court battles, people. I mean, this is about to happen. Why? It's a burgeoning market. What's going to happen when Bitcoin hits 30K, 20K again? People are going to be trying to sue people left and right because they haven't figured out a way to obtain crypto on their own. So they're like, hey, let me just try to take it, right? So expect to see more of this. So if you're in any type of law firm, lawyer, attorney, any of those positions, I would highly suggest you start looking at cryptocurrency a lot closer. And last but not least, you can see this quote where it says this class action seeks to compensate investors in Bitcoin and Bitcoin futures for damages from paying an artificial price compared to what they should have paid if the price had not been manipulated by defendants. Cry me a river. The day you can stop CNBC from hawking Ripple at $3.25, then that's the day you should also get your money back from them. But if you're not suing CNBC, you shouldn't be suing them. It's as simple as that. And oh, by the way, I meant to tell you, you're never gonna get your money back. All right. Next top story up: Coinbase launches international cryptocurrency arm. Real quick, couple of quick comments. P-Man Van says sue the Fed for pumping the stock market. Hey, I mean, look, you're right. The Fed just put $750 billion back into the money market in the United States, or the global money market, in the last 2 or 3 months, $750 billion. They need to get sued as well. You're right about that. And Tony Nolly said that would be a great case, the people versus the Fed. I'm all for that, because essentially they're doing the same thing as Bitfinex and Tether is getting sued for if what they did was true as well. So that's why I said the lawsuit game, drop it. All it's going to do is invite unwanted attention to the space, which we do not need when it comes to in the form of regulators. All right, Coinbase launches international cryptocurrency arm. Looks like major United States cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase, an entity in Ireland, has established an entity in Ireland to expand its crypto custody services to European institutions. It looks like on January 30th, this new entity is called the Coinbase Custody International, and it is based out of Dublin. Firm services will be the same as for those provided by Coinbase custody, in addition to taking over all the staking opportunity activities performed by the exchange. Now, the reason why I want to bring this up, first of all, hey, shout out to Coinbase as a business person, way to continuously expand. But I do want to bring this up as a word of caution, because we're kind of getting right back into the same system we're leaving, where this is a great idea, especially, you talk about custody. They're probably talking about institutions and organizations, not your regular mom and pops out there. But I think this is a dangerous practice to begin. Now, I'm sure Coinbase is smart enough and they know enough about cryptocurrency to know not to keep all the money in custody in one big pot, right? I'm sure they're going to separate these pots, have different ways of logging in, different factors. But at the end of the day, it's getting pretty centralized. And we have to be careful with that as they continue to grow, not just Coinbase, any custody arm, because the last thing you want is for a large percentage of the world's, say Bitcoin, for example, to be stored with one or two entities. That's just another centralized way of doing business. And you're basically inviting a group of hackers to try to crack you open and get all that money. Now, of course, I'm assuming they're paying top-notch money for their cybersecurity and all of that, which is great. But all it takes is one time. It literally takes one time, one technological advancement, one exploit, one wrong way of doing things, one bug in the code. All it takes is one thing for a very good hacker or group of hackers to exploit. And if they do that and all our money is in one custody arm or, in one business, then we can overnight see a large chunk of not only Bitcoin just disappear to someone else, but the confidence in the market go down. And those are the things which will have Bitcoin spiraling right back down into a bear market if something like that happens. So that's my only thing. I definitely want to caution with this. I know they say, when it comes to Coinbase and Gemini, they say, hey, we're regulated. We have all this government backing. We did all the right things, compliance, blah, blah, blah. So did all the banks. And we saw they were doing the subprime mortgages as well, right? They were supposed to be regulated. They were supposed to be carefully watched and all this good stuff. And come to find out, we're giving A+ grades to people pulling out mortgages that probably should get a D or F, right? So my point is human error. You can't trust it, and you just have to be careful. Again, this is a good story to see as we talk about mass adoption. We're allowing more organizations around the world to start to invest in Bitcoin without them having to have to worry about the security of it, even though they should. But again, if we start piling it all into one place like Coinbase, crypto custody, which we already know Coinbase not on good terms with the community when it comes to trust, then this may be an issue in the future we want to continue to look at. P-Man Van said heading to fractional reserve crypto. Exactly, it is fractional reserve crypto. And I also think, again, with Bitcoin it's a little bit easier, or a lot easier, where you can see them move it. What we've seen already, where you get Bitstamp moving $1 billion here, or whatever company moving $1 billion there, and we can watch it, right? Which is cool. So it's a bit tougher to do that fractional reserve banking with crypto, but it's not impossible. And if they were to start doing it, there's not a lot of ways you can stop them unless you're paying attention to it, which, by the way, a lot of these institutions are not. They're not looking at well alerts. They're not looking at which institutions moving what money and what they're doing with it. So for Coinbase, yeah, if I get $500 million in Bitcoin flowing through, and we already know we're going to be putting whatever new Ripple, for example, on our exchange, why wouldn't we go ahead and buy some, right? Why wouldn't we pump it with our own money? Like, as Roger Ver said when it happened with Bcash from Coinbase, he came out the next day and said, basically, market manipulation is not illegal in this market. And he's actually right. It has not been deemed illegal per se. I know we saw in 2017, 2018, the SEC and some other government organizations putting up $100,000 rewards and stuff that they can find the pump and dumpers out there. I'm not even sure what happened with that. I don't think they found anyone. But yeah, when it comes to the manipulation, it's not really illegal, which is why these lawsuits are just now starting to pop up. So again, yeah, if you want to give one company $400 million or whatever, do not be surprised when all of a sudden you find out, oh, we invested in a hotel. What? You guys never said we couldn't. We're holding it for you. We're going to make sure you get it back, right? There is no stopping them. So yeah, that's a scam kind of in and of itself. Sergeant Crypto said all the old banking cronies bought their crony ways over to the likes of Coinbase and Gemini. I mean, They did. And that's something we talked about. If you remember, one of the executives that's over at Coinbase came from TD Ameritrade, right? I mean, they literally scooped up a whole slew of Wall Street veterans to turn what I think their company IPO ready, but also to make money in the meantime. And that's what's going on. I mean, they're using their crony ways of Wall Street, saying, no. This is what you do. You don't fight back regulators. You want regulations. That way you can be the only Coinbase for the next 20 or 30 years, right? So they're bringing all those practices over here, and you can see it with the custody side of things. So again, shout out to Coinbase. This is good for Coinbase. This is also good for mass adoption as well. The only thing we need to watch out about is, what could happen if all this money goes to one centralized spot, and of course the crypto side of fractional reserve banking, which I think we've already begun to see. All right, last but not least, I'll say this is a good news story. It's a pretty funny story in general. The headline, literally no one is trading Bak's Bitcoin options. Hilarious, people. Then the photo. Listen, for the first time, CoinDesk has beat Cointelegraph when it comes to the photo. And they didn't even use artwork. They just used a stock image of a guy sleeping at a trading desk. It looks like hilarious. Trading volumes in Bitcoin options listed on the Intercontinental Exchange Bakk platform have completely dried up, even while CME options product is seeing strong interest. As per Bak's data, not a single Bitcoin, let me say that again, as per Bak's data, not a single Bitcoin options contract was traded last week on Bakk, with activity last registered on January 17 when 20 lots had changed hands. This is crazy. Demand for options tend to rise with the spike in volatility, which we're seeing now. But it looks like the options contract gives the right but not the obligation to buy this or sell the specified amount of the underlying on or before the expiration date. Now, of course, I think it was SIBO or CME when they launched. Their CEO basically came out and said, we're going to tame the Bitcoin market. I'm not going to lie, when that statement was made, of course, that was a top story here on our show. And I said he was crazy. He wasn't going to do it. And they definitely did it. They definitely tamed the market. I would give it to them. When you see only 5 to 10% swings in the crypto market, that is tame compared to those anywhere from 20 to 35% swings we were seeing every 2 or 3 days back in 2017. But it looks like I said, Bakk has been having some issues. It looks like the uptake for its options product has been weak. Bakk traded a little over $1 million worth of options in the first 4 weeks since the launch on December 9th. The highest contract worth $500,000 was initiated during the second week. Now, you're probably asking, well, why is this a good news story? It's a good news story because two things. First, as the price of Bitcoin continues to rise, that means people are buying the underlying asset and not the derivative of it, right? That's a good thing. People are buying Bitcoin, not Bak's Bitcoin options. The biggest beef with all these future contracts and these options contracts is that you are literally buying a derivative of an underlying asset that everyone around the world has access to. The reason why futures and options and all these things first came about is because a lot of people, due to the rules, a lot of people didn't have access to buy some of these different things in the stock market. If you weren't a broker or a regulated this, or I know for some exchanges you had to have at least $25,000 in your account to even begin to trade. So if you couldn't do any of those things, which basically if you weren't already wealthy, right? If you had a little bit of money tucked away, you couldn't do this. So they created options to make derivatives of the derivative, of course. Well, in the crypto space, when these options and futures were first launched, we said there's no point. I mean, you could literally just buy Bitcoin. You can go on the exchanges and you can short it if you think it's going to go down, or you can margin trade and add more money in there if you think the price is going up. You can set stop limits and sell limits if the price is going up or down, depending on what you want. My point is, there was no reason, and still there is no reason for options and futures in the market. But, you know, as we just talked about Wall Street doing their thing, we understand why not make a derivative market if people are going to be foolish enough to participate in it. then let's have that market. But again, since no one is trading on back, I think that's a good thing because it shows that people are buying the underlying asset as it continues to go up. And secondly, the manipulation from the futures and options side is starting to subside, at least in the short term. So again, two very good things for a healthy Bitcoin market at the least. And I hope it continues to go this way, not only with BAC, but also with CMO, CBOT and CME once people realize, hey, we can just go buy Bitcoin, because that in turn, it creates a healthier Bitcoin market and you will make money in the long run doing it that way. So shout out for BAC for staying in the back. Again, they kept trying to finagle when they were going to launch. They didn't want to launch in the middle of a bear market. They launched thinking the market was back. At the end of the day, people, to be honest, they'll be fine. They have a lot of analysts. They have a lot of money. They'll figure out a way to make their money. But again, in the short term, this is good to see for the market. Other than that, what's going on, Ryan Cooper last? Quick shout out. Other than that, that is the show for the day. What's going on, Madam Crypto? As always, thanks for watching. Make sure you smash that like and share. And I will see you all tomorrow with some more crypto news. Cheers.